Huh. Okay. I guess I am making a second video. To put a TLDR on the last video, I am not a fan of the new designs for many reasons. The wings feel like cardboard, they don't show any emotions, or movement for that matter, and the designs themselves don't really have good silhouettes or colors. If I was a parent trying to get my kid their favorite doll from the show, I think I'd be pulling my hair out trying to figure out which one it was because half of the girls are in blue. Even if the designs do have a sense of fashion from idols and acrobatics behind them, they don't give any tells or show any themes to the powers they have, and they don't really even have any reason lore-wise as to why the designs are the way that they are. I mean, at least with Cyrenix, we could tell it was water-themed even if we couldn't see the calls to their powers. In the original series, they had to earn these butterfly-like, multicolored wings. The first wings kinda acted like a cocoon for the final ones when they became a real fairy, and the new ones don't really feel like they have anywhere to go since they're already so detailed. So, just like I said in the last video, I hope you understand that I am making a design that kind of aligns with the modern 3D style that they have, so it's kind of like a combination of the original and the reboot designs. If I was fully in control of the designs, I think I would have an entirely different style, probably just a whole different show. I mean, like, when's the last time we got girly new lore-driven fairy media that just wasn't a reboot? But that's not what I'm talking about at all, so let's go ahead and get started with Stella. I feel like Stella is easily one of the most tragic transformations, simply on the fact that she just doesn't look like herself at all when she transforms. She doesn't feel super bright anymore. In fact, something feels colder. Something that someone pointed out to me that I can never unsee again is the fact that her eyes aren't brown anymore. They're a bit more golden and yellow-hued, which makes me a little sad. It's not often we get brown-eyed girls in fantasy media. Also, I wasn't made aware that magical girl transformations can also expand your forehead. There are minimal hints to her moon powers. I guess the tops of her boots do feel a little bit more star-like, but that's a star, which, surprise surprise, is just another sun, it's not a moon. If you look at some of the scenes in the right light, you can see a slight moon shape on her shirt, but because of the lighting engine, you can't even see it half of the time. I mean, I guess the ring counts, but we don't even get to see it half of the time, and in its staff form, it doesn't really feel like a moon. If I recall, I think they were just gonna make her the fairy of the sun, but they did end up going back to the sun and moon fairy after some fan feedback, but they didn't really add any elements or colors that look like the moon. Now, I'm not gonna say that her color palette is bad, but it's just not for her. She does look cute in pinks, but paired with pastel yellow it feels washed out, and again, not very moon themed. So I am bringing back her original color palette with the light blues, but also adding some darker blues as well so it feels like some elements of her outfit are night themed. I also really like the original color palette she had for a different reason, because Stella and Bloom's accent colors were each other's colors, which is a really cute play on them being best friends. Which, I don't even know if it was intentional or not, but to have the same exact color palette and have such different feeling characters is so cool. Something I also notice about the poses in the new design is that they're very small feeling. The original, it was subtle, but the way her hair and the poses she made her feel like a sun herself, with her limbs and hair pointing out like rays of light. And speaking of subtle, her ring and her staff used to be really simple. It was really nice. It was designed to feel like a family artifact that multiple rulers would have used, but the current one feels a little tacky, especially for something that's existed for thousands of years. Now, I'm not really sure what I would do for the ring, but for the staff, I just mostly copied the design of the original staff, but added more of a crescent moon on the inner circle. I feel like a lot of fans of anything really enjoy when there are subtle designs to jewelry or merchandise. Not only does it reference the show, but it also looks good outside of the show as a standalone piece. Something I also really don't like is her hair. Outside of it feeling like plastic, the style just doesn't really make any sense to me. She has vampire bangs, which, even if it was a soft nod to her moon powers, it's so thick and it hides her eyebrows so much, which doesn't really seem to suit her character. The shade of blonde of her hair is also only a few tones off from her skin tone, which wouldn't be a problem if her outfit stood out enough to contrast it. We can see this in old Flora designs. Her hair tones and skin tones were very similar, but since her outfit was a key element, it all balanced out really well. But with Reboot Stella, since her outfit isn't that contrasting, especially with the pinks and the yellows, it causes everything to blend together when you look at the design as a whole. Her outfit isn't that terrible, and the colors almost make sense, but something about it feels so muddy. One thing I noticed, and something I learned about when doing a lot of graphic design, is that when a design looks like it should work but something still feels off, the best thing you can do is to do a grayscale test. This shows you where the main elements of the design are and helps you see where most of your attention is going. And if the grayscale itself doesn't help, you're supposed to squint to see where the major element of the design is. Well, as you can see, nothing about her really stands out on its own. The colors are all the same tone. The yellow eyeshadow she has on doesn't really do anything to help bring her face out, and everything just blends right in. Also, if you haven't been able to pinpoint why the shade of orange feels so off, as this took me a long time to see myself, it's because it's neon. I wish they went for a warmer yellow tone, and I think that's what makes her design feel so wrong and slightly green. I just slightly recolored the design here to have more contrast and removed the neon orange, and it already feels so different. Now, the straps of her shirt are a fun idea. They do kinda look like sunrays. I do like the concept of it. There's also lines on her skirt that feel like sunrays too. The random shoulder bits and the choker don't really make any sense, sure, but do you remember how I talked about how her original poses and her outfit made her feel like she was producing sunrays? You don't really get this feeling in the reboot design. When making and creating lines like this on a design, it's always important to note where they are going. Her bangs are pointing downwards, the straps on her top are pointing away from her face, and the lines on her skirt are just pointing down. They're all going in different directions instead of radiating from one point, and it can make the bottom feel really heavy. Almost all the lines on her outfit are pointing in different directions, and your eyes just naturally fly off the outfit. The movement of design is such an important aspect as it can keep your eyes on the screen or just send them completely flying off. Now that you're a little bit more aware of these lines, I want you to see where your eyes flow naturally when you look at the design again. Did your eyes move like this? Did they move downwards and outwards? That's because all her visual movement seems to be pointing downwards, which isn't great for somebody who's radiating light. Now, I can't see where they were going with this. It almost seems like they wanted her to feel like a goddess, or maybe even more like a princess. But with all this visual movement pointing downwards, all these colors that feel like they're the same tone, and heavy bangs that hide the new forehead, we totally lose her face and the radiance that she used to have. In her old design, it looks like she's ready to kick somebody's butt. She ties her hair back, she's wearing shorts, she's got boots on with thick heels, but in the new one, she has these crazy thin heels and it doesn't really feel like she's ready for physical combat. Or maybe she can. What do I know? To be honest, if she can win a physical fight in those heels, I'd be terrified of her. She'd easily be the most powerful fairy in that group. Now, I know it is a joke that she's always in heels, but I want it to feel like she's ready to fight again. In the original show, she's supposed to feel quite powerless without her ring. She's scared to fight on her own, and so I wanted it to feel like she could be in a physical fight again. For her shoes, I kinda gave her cowboy-styled boots so she feels like she can move around again, and it's also just a slight callback to her season 1 outfits where she liked to dress like a cowgirl. And as you can probably already see, I gave her back her pigtails. For the outfit, I'm keeping the idea of the straps representing the sun that they had, but I'm making sure they're radiating from one point. I'm also adding a lot more calls to her moon powers, like adding bottom wings that look like crescents, and her leggings kinda look like a night sky. There's cool silver blues that also feel like the moon. I also kinda liked the idea of the stars that she had on the top of her boots, so I just swapped out the colors. And obviously a very personal touch is moles. They have pores in the new animation style, they have freckles. I'm a little sad that we're only seeing soft freckles on these characters, so I decided to give Stella some moles since they can feel like constellations. Some people also call them beauty marks, which works well for her since she is somebody who's into beauty. I don't know, it just seemed like some fun, but again, that's just a silly little detail. I really warmed up her color palette, made her a little bit more tan, and her outfit does feel a little sunflower-ish, which I think works well for her. The arm pieces that I gave her are also supposed to feel a little bit more goddess or, like, elegant. I know I didn't really draw the top of the hands in the pose, but imagine that they reach out to her middle finger. You know, the ones with the little ring loops on them? She's also supposed to be exploring the idea of fashion a little bit more. At least in the original season she did. We don't really see Reboot Stella having a lot of hobbies. So I did give her two-toned eyeliner so it looks like she's experimenting with colors. I think this also works well because even in the original series it stated that she's one of the few fairies that wears makeup in her fairy form, which is so silly but also really fits her character, and I also made sure her eyes were brown again. I hope you enjoyed this redesign. I was not expecting that last video to get a lot of attention because, just like this video and the last one, I did this doodle based off of a dumb edit I made on Tumblr forever ago, in like half an hour. It was a lot of fun seeing what everybody does and doesn't like about the designs, whether from the reboot or my own, and I really like talking to everybody in the comments about what they do and don't like about the show itself. I'm not really sure who I'm gonna do next. I'm kind of at a cross between Flora and Musa, but I'm still not sure. Thank you so much again for watching and engaging, and thank you for all the support. Bye bye!